In December 2023, Javier Milei took over as the president of Argentina. He was widely viewed as the leader with a radical libertarian vision. Known for his anarcho-capitalist stand, Milei introduced sweeping reforms designed to break Argentina free from its chronic economic crisis. Even though his reforms are still making headlines, it's the microeconomic changes that might finally be shifting the country's long-standing economic challenges. But how are these reforms shaping the country's future, and are they truly working? By the end of 2023, when Milei took over, Argentina was facing an economic catastrophe. Inflation had surged to an annual rate of 211%. Central bank liabilities were skyrocketing and the GDP was in a free fall. Argentina seemed to be trapped in a cycle of economic stagnation, reminiscent of its most severe crisis, including the hyperinflation crisis of 1989. In response to this dire situation, Milei unveiled his bold plan for recovery. His vision was clear: restore fiscal discipline, stabilize the economy, and ignite long-term growth. The cornerstone of his plan was a series of drastic economic reforms aimed at cutting public spending, controlling inflation, and attracting investments. The first step was fiscal discipline and public spending cuts. This was Milei's first action as president to slash public spending by 30%. In real terms, this move aimed to bring Argentina's fiscal balance back into order. By eliminating unnecessary government expenditure, Milei sought to stabilize the country's finances and reduce the reliance on the debt finance spending. The government devalued the currency and increased import taxes to bring down the black market premium. This brought the premium down from over 100% to just 25%. By mid-2024, inflation was reduced to 2% per month, a dramatic decrease from the staggering 54% just months earlier. This immediate measure stabilized the economy and the country risk premium dropped by 40%, making Argentina more attractive to foreign investors. Milei's monetary policies followed a phased approach. He first ended the practice of printing money to finance government spending, which was a major cause of inflation. Then the central bank's interest-bearing liabilities were eliminated, halting the automatic expansion of the money supply. Finally, foreign exchange interventions were scaled back to avoid further devaluation of the peso. These steps were designed to bring Argentina's inflation rate in line with international standard, reducing the capital controls and encourage long-term economic growth. One of the Milei's most controversial reform was the repeal of the 2020 rent control laws. While these laws were introduced to protect tenants, they inadvertently caused a housing shortage and drove rental prices through the roof. In December 2023, Milei scrapped these rent controls, leading to an immediate result. Housing availability in Buenos Aires surged by 170% and the rental cost dropped by 40%. By mid-2024, rental listings had increased by 184%, showing a strong recovery in the sector. The economic growth and structural reforms has been fueled by both cyclical and structural factors. Wage and pension increases combined with fiscal adjustment helped in stabilizing aggregate demand. Argentina's export, particularly in agriculture, surged and national saving rose by 15%. Structural reform reduced trade barriers and encouraged investments have further paved the way for long-term economic growth. Despite the positive economic indicators, Milei's reform have not come without significant challenges. Critics argue that the austerity measure and the prioritization of fiscal discipline have disproportionately impacted Argentina's most vulnerable population. Poverty levels have spiked. Unemployment has now overtaken the inflation as the biggest concern for Argentinians. Official unemployment has risen to 8%, with 45% of workers in the informal sector lacking social security. The economic crisis has driven lower consumer demand and reduced investment, shrinking labor opportunities. Meanwhile, more Argentinians are taking on second or third job as wage struggle to keep up with the inflation. Public sector job cuts under President Milei's austerity measures, around 30,000 so far of the planned 70,000, are adding to the unemployment challenges. How are these trends shaping Argentina's labor landscape, and what does it mean for the country's recovery is the major question. The austerity measures have hit the poorest hardest, leaving many households grappling with the reduced consumption and increased hardship. These social costs underscore the tension between economic stabilization and the well-being of the population. Milei remains resolute in his commitment to his long-term economic vision. In his article for The Economist, he emphasized that the success of Argentina's reform hinges on maintaining macroeconomic discipline, embracing economic freedom, and fostering a culture of governance based on fiscal responsibility. What is his ultimate goal? It is to prove that embracing libertarian economic policies can lead to prosperity. However, as Argentina moves into 2025, the road to recovery remains far from smooth. While the initial reforms have shown promise, the social and economic cost will continue to shape the country's future. As Milei's bold experiment in libertarian economic unfolds, Argentina's future is at crossroads. Will these reforms lead to an economic miracle, or will the cost of austerity and rising inequality prove too high? Only time will tell.